There are a number of definitions and meaning for someone that is unfriendly or unfriendliness. Someone that is unfriendly, number one, is someone that refuses to be loving, kind, or mannerable. It's not that they can't be friendly. They simply refuse to be. They refuse to give you a hug. Refuse to dap you up. Refuse to give you a compliment. They're simply unfriendly. Someone that is unfriendly, number two, is someone who's being mean, harsh, or simply disrespectful. Just mean. Seemingly always like to pick on you or pick on other folk. Just mean. An unfriendly person is harsh. It's one thing to just joke with somebody, but to hit, as we say, below the belt, that's just harsh. And it's one thing to do it one time, but to have a reputation for being harsh and mean, simply, you just an unfriendly person. And finally, an unfriendly person is just disrespectful. Looked you in the eye and spoke, and you didn't say not one thing. Held the door open for you. Walked through, didn't even say thank you. Just totally disrespectful. Put food on the table, clothes on your back, and all you do is complain and murmur. You unfriendly. That's just disrespectful. When I was coming up, we would call unfriendly folk somebody that didn't have no home training. You ain't got no home training. You gonna go out to eat and wear the waitress out and run out the door and don't leave no tip. You ain't got no home training. You just unfriendly. You ain't right. I need a straw. I need lemons. I need paper napkins. I need salt. I need pepper. Take this back and recook that. And then leave them 50 cents? You mean, you ain't right. Ain't got no home training. Christians should not be known for being unfriendly. Let alone a spirit-filled and led Christian should not have the reputation of being unfriendly. Why, Pastor? Because of Galatians 5:22. One of the fruits of the Spirit is kindness or friendliness. You should be known for being friendly, kind, and such. Even Jesus went to the point to teach his disciples in John 13:35. By this, all will know that you are my disciples. You have love for one another. You mean to tell me you say you saved and it just hurts you so much to give me a hug? That shouldn't be amongst spirit-led young Christians. You mean you so mad at me you still can't greet me? No, we're going to get mad at one another, but we should still be friendly or have love one toward another. You mean you can get so mad at your mama or your daddy and come in the house and don't even speak for 3 hours? and you say you saved. You so mad at your spouse, he try to give you some sugar and your word, don't touch me. You that unfriendly? And then get on the phone, hey girl, no, you wrong. If you pick and choose on who to be friendly to, you out the will of God. Jesus said, all will know that you my disciples, that you have love one for another. We got to be friendly. We got to be cordial. Now understand, young people, at some point you're going to encounter unfriendly people, and you got to know how to handle them properly. Now check this out. You're going to meet unfriendly folk at school. You may have an unfriendly teacher. You may meet an unfriendly police officer. You may have somebody that's unfriendly on your team or in your family. But I don't want you to be shocked. I don't want you to be appalled, because you might bump into somebody that's unfriendly in the church house. You might meet somebody that's having, as we say, a day, or going through a little something. You got to know how to deal with unfriendly people. Paul said this in Romans 12:21. Do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good. What does that mean as we consider the lesson on this morning? We got to mature to the point to where we resist the urge to go there with unfriendly folk. It's some of us in here, when you bump into unfriendly folk, you ready to take it to the street. You ain't trying to think about no prayer. You ain't thinking about no acknowledging God in all your ways. Let somebody look like they got a problem with you, and you ready to go there. And some of y'all ain't talking, but I know I'm telling the truth. Off up in here. You got to get some self-control and not allow unfriendly folk to take you to a place that a spirit-led Christian should not go. Just because somebody is unfriendly to you, that don't mean you need to slap them. That don't mean you need to cuss them out. Give them a piece of your mind. It don't mean just because you deal with some unfriendly folk in the church that you need to leave that church. Look, it's going to be unfriendly folk in every church. It's unfriendly folk in every school and on every job. We just got to know how to handle them. Which brings us to our text in 1 Samuel 25. Good text, relevant for young people today, because I have found out for myself that you got some young folk that can be unfriendly. Young adults that can be unfriendly. We know we can find some grown folk, but because my audience is youth and young adults, man, you got some young folk that can just be unfriendly. Unfriendly. How you go to school together and don't speak? Unfriendly. Preacher say, turn to your neighbor. You won't even look over there. Unfriendly. You see a new person in the church, instead of going and greeting them, you just walk by them like you don't see them. That's just being unfriendly. And it should not be amongst the saints. Unfriendly folk. Mean, harsh, disrespectful. You heard the rule about phones during the service. But then when one of the leaders come and say, you need to quit or I need that phone, you ready to fight. You was the one that was wrong. Why are you going to be unfriendly? 1 Samuel 25, there's 3 people in our text we need to learn from. David, Nabal, and Abigail. Help me out, MSW. Who are the 3 that we're going to learn about today? Take it from the top. David, slow down with me. Come on. Nabal, and finally, Abigail. David, Nabal, and Abigail. David, in the text, was looking for some refreshments for his men. That's all he was doing. He was looking out for his people, looking out for his folk. And how many know we should have that same mentality as saints? We should look out for people. We should want to try to help people as much as we can. And David had some men that was with him that was down for whatever. And they had been with him in the trenches. They had been in caves. They had been with him for some time. And at this particular time, young people, David recognized, I need to get these folks something to eat. I need to get them some refreshments. And so the lesson I want us to learn about David as young saints, we need to care about people more so than just ourselves. If you are selfish and only concerned about your well-being, you got some growing to do. Because life is more than just about you. And so David, simply put, he wanted his men to have some help me out, some refreshments. Nabal, the second man, was a rich man, very wealthy. He had paper. He had the bag. But he was not only rich, Nabal was rude. Rich and rude. What was Nabal? And that's it. Just because people got money, young folk, that don't mean they're where they need to be. Just because a person has things, that does not mean they all that. Nabal had a whole lot of stuff, but he didn't have the right character to go along with it. You can gain the whole world, young folk, and still lose your soul. We want the package. We want to have things, and we want to be in the will of God. I don't know about you. That's my desire. I want the things that God wants me to have, but I also want to have the character to go along with it. Want to be in the will of God. Jesus said in Matthew 6, if we just seek ye first the kingdom of God, all of these things he would add unto us. Nabal had the things, but he didn't have God. You don't want it like that. You want God, and the God that you serve will give you the things. Am I right about it? So Nabal was rich and rude. And finally, we have Abigail. Abigail handled her unfriendly and mean husband the right way. This woman had the right attitude. She had the right talk. She knew how to move when it came to dealing with her unfriendly husband. And so with that being said, when you consider Abigail, y'all still with me? Abigail was our role model. I said Abigail in the text is somebody the church should pattern themselves after. She was our role model. She is the one that we should look at in the text and say, this is how I need to conduct myself, especially when it comes to dealing with mean folk. Because no matter how wonderful you are, you're going to have to deal with bullies, mean folk, harsh folk, and disrespectful folk in this life. I'm telling you, your eyes going to be wide open if you ever get a job and you got a mean supervisor. A mean supervisor. You got PTO, or personal time off, but the mean manager won't never let you use your personal time off. You got to know how to deal with that, young folk. You got a teacher that see you struggling, that see you trying to pass the class, but they won't even set nothing up to try to help you improve your grade. You're going to have to learn how to deal with that mean teacher or professor. You may have a bill collector that just don't want to work with you, don't want to help you out or be merciful like you owe them. They just work for the company. You're going to have to learn how to deal with a mean creditor. And let me tell you something. You mess around and get engaged with somebody and you get married, and then a few months or years later, you find out, ooh, baby got a mean streak. You got to learn how to deal with a mean family member or spouse. Look how y'all looking at me. You got to learn how to do it. And Abigail is a great role model for us to follow. Somebody shout, Abigail. And so we're going to look at her and be done. Y'all still with me? Abigail handled unfriendly folk properly. And again, God is concerned with some of us that break down all the time. You deal with mean folk. Get stressed out. What in the world wrong with you? How you going to let somebody mean have that much control over you? Let's go to verse 18. I can't even get a pastor you right today. It's all right. It's all right. Sometimes you got to go through them trenches by yourself. 1 Samuel 25:18. Y'all ready? Read along with me. Then Abigail made haste. Now this after she done got word that Nabal done messed up and David ready to come through with the swords and kill everybody. Notice verse 18. Then Abigail made haste and took 200 loaves of bread, 2 skins of wine. Y'all with me? 5 sheep already what? Dressed. 5 sheets of roasted what? Grain. Come on. 100 clusters of raisins, 200 cakes of figs, and loaded them on donkeys. What do we learn from this verse about handling unfriendly folk from Abigail? You got to know and use the proper response for your situation. You got to know and use the proper response for whatever situation that you're in with somebody that's unfriendly. You got to know what to do. Thank God for the Holy Ghost. He'll guide us into what? All true. Abigail was a woman we read of good understanding and a beautiful woman. Side note, fellas, she had what I call the package. She had the package. She was godly. She was good looking. And we see, according to this verse, she was a woman of grace. That's the combo right there. She was godly, good looking, and a woman of grace. She was godly. How can you say that, Pastor? She had good understanding, we read. The Bible teaches that a person that has good understanding keeps his commandments. She was a godly woman. So this woman was led to respond in a godly manner. She said, well, they coming to get something to eat. Let me go ahead and fix them something to eat. That's the proper response. Ain't no need of them coming down here to try to kill nobody if I got everything the way that they want it. When you're dealing with mean folk, you got to know what the proper response is. Sometimes the proper response is don't say nothing. They want to be mean, let them be mean. Sometimes the proper response is just smile and grin. See, where some of us mess up, you go tit for tat. They be mean, you say, oh, that's how you want to play it? Well, let me tell you something. No, just because they unfriendly, that don't mean you need to be unfriendly. You got to know the proper response. It's just like a mother that got a child. If the mother tell the child or the baby to do something, and the child or the baby want to sit there and have a tantrum, the mature parent is going to say, you can cut up all you want. I'm not getting down on your level. That's the mindset you got to have, young folk, when you're dealing with mean and unfriendly folk. Well, you want to act childish? I'm not going there with you. That's going to be my proper response. We like to say, you just got to be the bigger person. You got to be the bigger person. You got to be the mature one. You got to choose it, or you can get down in the mud with them. And judging by y'all response, some of us in here like to get down in the mud when folk have something to say. Oh, you want to talk about my mama? I'll talk about your mama. Oh, you want to talk about my outfit? We're going to talk about your outfit. You go tit for tat. You let them bring the west side up out of you. You must not know who you. Girl, hold my earrings. Girl, what are you doing? You got to know the proper response. You got to know the proper response. You can't give folk that much control over you. Just because somebody smacked their teeth and rolled their eye, you ain't got to be like, girl, no, you didn't. You ain't got to go there with them. What's the proper response? Somebody in here be like, I'll smack that eye back straight. You can't, that ain't the proper response. And to whom much is given, you on the praise team now, you got to watch your response. You up before folk now. Unfriendly folk gonna come your way sometime just to try you. Oh, you in leadership? You a minister now? You got to know the proper response, and you got to apply it. To whom much is given, much is required. I'm not responding to everybody that's disrespectful to me. I'm not going to do it. You're not going to stress me out. I just understand there's some people, they just not going to respect me. That's not on me. That's on them. I'm going to keep it moving. That's the proper response for me. You got to know the proper response in the situation. Peter said it a different way. Y'all still with me? 1 Peter 4:9 for those taking notes. Peter said, be hospitable to one another without what? Grumbling. He talking to the church. Be hospitable or friendly. Brief, just be friendly and don't even trip. Just be friendly. Well, thank you so much, and keep it moving. Be hospitable. Hug their neck. Don't make no big deal out of what they said, and just keep it moving. Don't call up nobody and say, girl, you know, she walked right by me and didn't even. No. Just be hospitable without grumbling. Be friendly and don't make no big deal out of it. Sometimes saints like to make something that's this big into something that is really not. Quit trying to read into everything. Just be friendly and keep it moving. Ooh, I knew it was something. No, you ain't know nothing. You speculating. Now, if it's that much of a knowing, then it's time for you to do the mature thing and go to that person. Because Jesus taught, if a man even think to have an ought with somebody, you go to him. But see, when you respond by cackling and talking to other folk about what somebody did to you, you got to grow up. Just be hospitable without grumbling. Be friendly. Don't call the pastor. I wasn't going to say nothing. No, don't say nothing. Just keep it moving. I like to say, don't be petty. Just don't be petty. Is this too much truth for y'all? Be friendly without grumbling. Just be friendly. Isn't it amazing how no matter what you go through, when you go to Chick-fil-A, they always, hello, how are you doing? How may I serve you? Have a blessed day. They ain't thinking about what you're going through. They just being friendly. Just being friendly and keep it moving. Pull up to the window, get your fries, have a nice day. That's how we got to be. Be friendly without grumbling. Boy, I ain't getting no help this morning, but I know I'm telling the truth. Look at somebody and say, he Bible. If somebody want to be mean, let them be mean. That's not on you. People have the right to choose to be mean, unfriendly. That's your right. And if that's how you want to be, that's on the individual. But we bear the burden, young people, of choosing the right response. How many see that by a show of hand when you look at Abigail? Abigail's name is so unique. And I want to talk to you when we look at this second point about it. Y'all still with me? Verse 19. And she said to her servants, so this after she done got word, and now she deciding to fix them some refreshments. This is what she said in verse 19. And she said to her servants, go on, help me out, before me. See, I'm coming after you. She had a whole bunch of food, right? Notice, but she did not tell who? Her husband, Nabal. When you dealing with unfriendly folk, number 2, do not reveal your business to unfriendly folk. Don't let them know your mood, your plans. Don't reveal it. Just do what needs to be done. She said, look, I'm going to do this, but look, I'm not going to tell Nabal because he's not in the place that he need to be. And if I go and try to explain to him, even though he my husband, this ain't going to be nothing but another argument. So let me just go ahead and do what needs to be done. Solomon said it like this. This is some good teaching. Proverbs 22:24. Make no friendship with an angry man. Don't you connect with no mean folk, unfriendly folk. And with a furious man, do not go. Look, don't even tell your business to somebody that you know you don't need to be telling it to. You complaining about somebody being mean, unfriendly, and so forth. Why are you sharing your business with such a person? You just handle your business. Do you understand on this morning? Some things just don't require explanation. Just do it. Just be like Nike. Just do what needs to be done. You know what? I ain't got time to try to explain this. Let me just go ahead and do this. I ain't got time to try to figure out this, that, and the third. Let me just do what need to be done so we all don't die. Sometimes you got to make decisions that are major that can have an effect on your life, and you ain't got time to try to explain yourself. You just need to make a move. So you don't have to tell everybody everything. When it comes to being young, we live in a day and time where y'all are being trained to tell everybody what you're doing. Post it, tell somebody, share it. No, just do what needs to be done and keep it what? And keep it moving. God does all things decently and in order. Was she in order? Yes. She was finna die with the rest of them. She was finna get killed. So she said, you know what? I ain't got time for that. Let me go ahead and do what needs to be done. Oh, Lord, I'm finna make some of y'all mad with this last one. Verse 23 through 25. Stay with me. Now, when Abigail saw David, she dismounted quickly from the donkey, fell on her face before David, and bowed to the ground. 24. So she fell at his feet and said, on me, my Lord, on me let this iniquity be. And please let your maidservant speak in your ears and hear the words of your maidservant. Please let not my Lord regard this scoundrel Nabal. For as his name is, so is he. Nabal is his name. Nabal means stupidity or foolishness. Folly is with him. He just on that dumb stuff, David. It's my man, but he on that dumb stuff. But I, your maidservant, did not see the young men of my Lord whom you sent. This is what I want you to see in these 3 verses as I come to a close. You don't let an unfriendly person ruin your day. You don't let a mean person ruin your day. You don't let somebody who ain't got no manners ruin your day. Look to somebody on your row and say, don't you let no unfriendly person finish it. Ruin your day. How many days have you allowed to be ruined because you was thinking about a mean person and what they said or what they did? How many miles you been driving around thinking, I just can't believe she did that. I can't believe he said that. Don't let them ruin your day. Remember Abigail. Her name, in one sense, means godly gladness. Eternal gladness. She was just going to be happy regardless of what people said, even her husband, or did. She said, I'm going to be happy. I'm not going to let my own husband ruin my day. You got to have that mindset. I'm not going to let my kids ruin my day. I'm not going to let my boss ruin my day. I'm not going to let my teammate ruin my day. I'm not going to let these saints in the church ruin my day. I'm not going to let myself ruin my day. I'm going to stay happy. I'm going to be happy. I'm not going to let this negative doctor ruin my day. I'm not going to let these bill collectors ruin my day. I'm going to be happy. I'm going to count it all joy because I know that the joy of the Lord is my strength. I'm going to be happy regardless of unfriendly folk. I wish I had some help up in here, but sometimes you got to go by yourself, young folk. Sometimes you got to preach yourself happy. Sometimes you got to get high on your own supply. No, y'all late to the party. The party been done started, but I done got the revelation. It's some mean folk in the church and out the church, but I'm not going to let them ruin my day. Am I right about it? Yeah. I'm not going to let you ruin my day. Got this good meal. I'm going to concentrate on this macaroni and cheese. I'm going to concentrate on this turkey meat, and I'm not going to let nobody ruin my day. What about you? How did she do it? Her words were a remedy. Abigail's words, young folk, was a remedy to dealing with mean folk. Her words, what she said. How many understand that death in life is in the what? Power of the tongue. Her words was the remedy for her mean husband. Solomon said it like this as I close in Proverbs 15:1. A soft answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger. And see, that be the problem with some of us in here that's young and adult. It's your words that mess up the situation. It's what you say, and then you follow it in what you do. When you respond, you just make me sick. You get on my nerve. You just stirring up some mess. When you could just change your words and remedy the situation. I'm getting tired. I'm so fed up. Your words is setting the atmosphere. Your words are a remedy. Your words are the solution. You done gave that mean person that much authority in your life. Now you speaking death, and your whole day and week is jacked up. When all you had to do was say, well, it's well anyway. It's well anyway. It's going to work out for my good. I love you, Lord. All things going to work out for my good. I wasn't expecting them to say or do that, but it's going to work out for my good. Ain't no blessing, Lord, without a testing. Thank you for the test, Lord. Thank you for the test. I failed it, but let me get a remake. I'll do better next time. Your words are a remedy. Man, she got off that donkey and started using her mouth. I told y'all she was a woman of grace. She fell to David's feet and said, look, just be merciful. Look, I take the blame. She didn't point no fingers. She didn't say it was nobody else's fault. She said, I take the blame. My husband is just living up to his name. But let me tell you, if you just be merciful, look at what I got here for y'all. Her words were the remedy. An unfriendly husband didn't mess her day up. David, I didn't read it, was so impressed by this woman that a few days later, Nabal got drunk. I didn't read it, but Nabal, her husband, her unfriendly husband, he got drunk and he fell dead. The Bible say the Lord struck him. He got drunk and died. Now here's the twist to the story. David heard about Nabal dying. He slid through a second time. And guess who he left with? Abigail. Got him, slid through, and got that godly woman, good-looking woman, and a woman of grace. He said, no, you coming over here and be my wife. The lesson, young folk, is if you deal with unfriendly folk properly, it's a blessing in it for you. It's a blessing in it for you. Don't let unfriendly folk mess you up, get you depressed, throwed off, acting out of character. No, you got to handle unfriendly folk the proper way. And just because you friendly, that don't mean you need to let folk walk all over you. Take advantage of you. I'm friendly, but you ain't walking all over me. You ain't going to push me around. I'm not going to be your doormat or your punk. No, I'm friendly, but I got some backbone. And that's how we got to be. Abigail has some backbone. She's like, basically, look, don't kill me because of his stupidity. Don't kill me. And my servants. He just doing what his name suggests. I want you to accept this challenge if you have a hard time dealing with unfriendly folk. You got to determine what's the best response and act on it. You got to be to the point to where you don't let unfriendly folk ruin your day. Am I right about it? And you got to be to the point to where you don't reveal all your business. Just do what needs to be done. How many can grasp now from the text how to deal with unfriendly folk? You not only grasp it, but you're going to strive to do it. Well, let's stand to our feet and give God a hand clap of praise for the message. Come on, let's give God some praise. I'm done.